PEP Radio is a part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project that plays music, news, and weather, actively advocating for the LGBTQ+ and disabled since 2024.
PEP Radio, available on Live 365, Roku, Alexa, and at paquality.com.
Here at Gay SA Radio, we're very happy to welcome the Othering podcast to our airwaves. Catch the show every Thursday at noon CAT, bringing fresh voices and compelling conversations straight to you.
Head over to gsaradio.stream to find out how you can tune in and become part of our family. Don't miss it, only on Gay SA Radio, where you are family.
One man and one woman join forces to rid the world
What are you doing?
of inequality and fascism.
Seriously?
I'm trying to do a promo here.
For whom? What are you doing?
Welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory. Hello.
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 How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so excited for this, you guys. Oh my gosh.
We are too.
Yep.
I'm glad that you're able to meet with us.
Absolutely.
Okay, today we are talking to Holly. Holly is a seasoned sexual educator, digital creator, and the host of Meet Me at the Spot podcast. As the founder of That Sex Educator, Holly bridges the gap between digital media and real-world advocacy by creating inclusive, trauma-informed content that empowers young people, educators, and communities to reclaim their sexual health and rights. With a background in education and social justice, Holly is known for her ability to turn complex, stigmatized topics like abortion access, LGBTQ+ experiences, STI stigma, and relationship communication into bold, accessible conversations. Her work spans viral TikToks, in-depth podcast interviews, community workshops, and political education initiatives that inspire action beyond the scroll. Welcome, Holly.
Yes, welcome.
It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with y'all.
So I want to ask about, how did you get started in sex ed? What was it that, other than it's sex, but and sex is awesome. What drew you to want to, share your knowledge with people?
Yeah. It's a fun journey that I've taken to get to where I am today. I knew since I was 5 years old that I wanted to be a teacher. Throughout my whole life, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a teacher. And when I got to college, they're like, well, what do you want to major in? What are you interested in? I'm like, I want to be a teacher. And they're like, great. What do you want to teach? And I was like, kids, duh. Like, what is wrong with you? What kind of content is that? What subject? Do you want to teach little kids? No, absolutely not. I knew that was not the life for me. And I was like, no, I want to teach older, middle school, high school kids. Great. What subject? Let's go through some different subjects in school and see how they feel with you. They're like, math. I'm like, you do not want me teaching math. That will do nobody any good. So they went through lots of different subjects. Like, well, what was your favorite subject in high school? And I was like, health. I loved my health class. It was very unique and different in the way that I became a health teacher and taught health class. But it's a class even still, I graduated 20 years ago, and
We're right there with you.
Yeah.
and it's a class I still remember very fondly. It's also a class I don't know why I'm bringing this dark in the beginning, but when 9/11 happened, I was in health class that day. I found out in my chemistry class, but I had health at the end of the day, and our teacher didn't say anything. We walked into class, the news was on the roll-in TV, and for an 80-minute block, we watched the news. He said not one word, nothing. But during that class, there was a man calling into the news because he couldn't reach his daughter. His nanny had brought his daughter to school that day, and he couldn't get a hold of her. And I can still hear his voice ringing in my ears. And at the end of the class, our teacher just like dismissed us and just told us to just love one another and have a good day. And he always had a thing when we left class, like we could do high fives if we wanted to, but we didn't have to. But he always kept that space there for high fives. And I will never forget that. And he didn't have to say anything, but by not saying anything, he held that space. So I started taking some health classes in college, absolutely fell in love with the subject. I'm like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I taught middle school and high school health for 7 years. Realized teaching the system of education was not for me, and it was not bringing me joy anymore, which means I knew I was doing a disservice to the students and the community in which I was teaching in, and so I knew it was time for a change. So then I started working for a small birth control clinic as a sex educator. I would go into schools, talk about all the different birth control methods, about STIs, the fun guest speaker. Now I'm the cool adult coming into your school. I'm the sex lady. I would get that all the time when I'd go places. Like, aren't you the sex lady? I'm like, when we're in public, can you please not make me that lady? You're a minor. I don't need to be catching a charge today. And that was really fun. And around the election in 2016, I went to a conference. It was right after the election had happened. And of course, there was a lot of feelings in the spaces that we were in, high tension. And I just remember some folks talking in a workshop I was in, and they're like, yeah, we have our master's in public health policy. And I was like, what? The whole workshop, I don't know what the workshop was on, and I feel horrible to this day to these poor presenters who did so much to put together an amazing presentation, but I was sitting there on my phone looking up, how do I get a degree in public health policy? How do I take that next step? So I went back, got my master's in public health, and worked in HIV education prevention for a long time, and that was really great. And now I work what we're now calling our Office of Engagement and Enrichment. It's DEI. So I'm doing that. And this is the first time, my full-time job has not been related to sexual health in some way. But it's really allowed me to focus on my business, on my podcast. And I also co-founded and I currently co-direct a local sexual and reproductive justice organization locally here. Where I live in Rochester, New York. And so it allows me to put my energy there in a different way. Instead of being my 9 to 5, it's now I do it because I have the passion for it and I love it so much and it means so much to me, not because I have to do it. And I have to do it in a way that somebody else is telling me how to do it,
And that's when you do your best.
Yeah.
When you do it because you love it, not because you have to or someone's telling you to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you love the subject, it's hard sometimes when, you have to have it in this structure and you got to teach these specific things. And having been a former teacher myself, it kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
Even if you love the subject to pieces. I felt so burnt out after a while of teaching IT. And I used to love it because, getting all the new computers and understanding how they work and how to build them and all that stuff was so much fun. And then it's but it was so structured in how I had to teach it. So it's just I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't have any passion for it anymore. And it was just if you learn, great. If you don't, oh well, kind of feeling. And it should never be that way. It should always be, great, you're learning. And when it sucks to even go and see your students, that's when you know it's time to move on. And I moved on. But I love the fact that you were able to do so much, though, especially for sex ed, because that is one of the things that from probably the founding of our nation, and actually before, it was such a taboo subject. Yeah. And I don't understand why, because everybody does it.
That's how we got here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For a lot of us.
It's not like, somebody said, you know what, I want a kid. Okay, and then beam, it comes out and there's a child. You have to have sex.
I was delivered by the stork. My parents didn't have sex.
I know my mom claims immaculate conception for all
Yep.
4 of her children. I was like,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
like to think that because the thought of my parents having sex is like, but I know they did, but that's, they're old, so they can't have done it really well. But
No.
I but at the same time, it's just like we can't have been here. We can't proliferate if we don't even understand, what's going on. And it should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be a chore. And I hate that they want to try and make it a chore, which is ridiculous. I mean, sex should be enjoyed and it should feel good. And you should want to do it, not here we go again. And because I think it ruins a marriage when it's that thought process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even if someone's like having sex with the purpose of like they want to have a baby, it should still be fun. It
Yeah.
should still be pleasurable.
Yeah.
When we have like regulations on this sort of thing and they're trying to take away the pleasure and trying to take away joy, I want people to know like that's something they really truly cannot take from us. No matter how hard they try to legislate. So a big act of rebellion and resistance is have some really good sex, whether it's solo
Yeah.
or with a partner, multiple partners. Listen, do your thing, have really good sex. That is such a great form of resistance against a
Yeah.
tyrannical government.
And
And it's fun in the process.
yes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, they always say joy is resistance, and what better way to have joy than, solo or with partners, and just exploring each other's bodies
Hell yeah.
and finding out what you love, what you like. Because sex happens, and it's going to always happen. Why do we want to make people in the dark about it? It doesn't make sense to me. Why do we want to proliferate diseases? Because, I mean, it doesn't really help. If you want more people born, the worst thing to do is to legislate away information. I mean, a lot of those diseases end up causing infertility. And if you don't have any knowledge that those diseases happen because of sexual contact and such, that, well, not just any kind of sexual contact, it's irresponsible sexual contact, then those children, now you've got either children that are born disabled, which is, what you didn't want in the first place, or you end up with nothing because they can't have children.
Right. But think about the way it's legislated, right? If we think about these policies and who is being left in the dark, right? It's not rich white folks.
No.
They're going to always have the information. They're going to always have the resources, right? And we're seeing something fairly parallel and similar to what we saw back when like Planned Parenthood first became an organization, right? And unfortunately, sexual and reproductive health and services in this country has had a very, very, very bad history.
Yeah.
It has a very, very bad now. When I'm saying history, I'm meaning like there are people's like grandparents, aunts, and things like that are still alive that experience some of the most horrific acts of medical mistrust, distrust, and abuse.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And that stuff is carried. And as someone who is a white woman, a white cis woman, going into a lot of spaces, like I have to always carry that. I always carry that on my shoulders with me when I go, and I put it out there like, I know that. I know this is bad. And it's bad now. It's still very bad. We have to be so honest about how bad it is. But we have to be the most honest about who it's really bad for, right?
Right.
Because if we do not give information to populations we don't want to reproduce, then they won't be able to reproduce, right? And if they do reproduce, they will have children who are disabled, and we're going to legislate against that too, right? They will have STIs that are incurable, and we'll legislate that against that too, right? You won't be able to get services. You won't be able to get health care. You won't be able this, that, and the other thing, right? So all this level of restrictions is all about control.
Right,
It's controlling who should be allowed to reproduce. And it's not like we want everyone just have a bunch of babies and then that's it and that's all we want. It's like, no, what the message really is, we want a whole bunch of rich white folks to have babies. Everybody else, we don't care about you.
Right.
We don't. It's crazy.
The thing is that rich white folks, though, know that having a bunch of babies causes you to not be rich anymore.
What?
So,
Kids are expensive?
Yeah, so it's like, are you really that dense that you don't think in terms of the reason why people... Okay. The reason why, like, countries like Ireland, back in the 50s and all that stuff, legislated, you know, rigorously for Christianity to be Roman Catholic. No offense against Roman Catholics, but this is kind of how it was done throughout centuries. And the countries like Ireland and such that were, you can't have education, sexual education, you can't have abortions, you can't have anything knowledgeable about sex. They were the poorest countries on earth. They are still trying to claw themselves out of the doldrums of being poor because rich people don't have a shitload of babies. That's not how you get rich. And so the ones that were, and I don't want to perpetuate the Protestant against Roman Catholicism argument, but that is how it was. The Protestants knew, well, damn it, if we want to be able to have children, but yet be able to be healthy and think about what's best for our, not only our own families, but for the whole country, we have to think in terms of beyond religion. It can play a part, but it can't be the end-all and be-all of every thought process. We have to have science in there. And so Protestant countries, even way back in the 1500s, before that, they were wealthier because they didn't legislate diseducation, for lack of a better way to put it. They legislated that in order to have a better society, we all have to be knowledgeable. Our founding fathers said, get religion out of everything, because a best country is ruled by the people, not a religion. Mm-hmm. And it boggles my mind that it's like, you want us to go back to where we just spit babies out left and right, but you can't be wealthy anymore unless you don't take care of them. Then who's going to take care of them? The government ain't, because they want to legislate away from that. So it's just like, you have a lot of babies being born, but they're not going to grow up, because if nobody's around to take care of them, they're going to die. And that's really sad. So it's, sad. Now you're still in the problem of we're not having enough babies.
Mm-hmm. And that'll get blamed on something else, right?
Yes.
That'll get blamed on something else, and it'll be something else to be attacked. Right. I don't know the end goal yet. I haven't figured out the end goal.
Somehow it'll be a woman's fault.
Of course, it's always our fault.
Yes.
It's always our fault. And I like how you brought up some stuff like this, what we're talking about around sex education and things like that. This is not new. Mm-mm. Like, no. As far as, how the positive effects sex, comprehensive, medically accurate, age-appropriate sex ed has for reducing STIs, reducing unintended pregnancy, all of that stuff, is we have decades upon decades of research on this. Mm-hmm. Like, lots of research. So it's not like, oh, we just don't know. No, it's like, and, right? Mm-hmm. And you're making these choices. I'm with you. I'm with you in that, like, I can't figure out what is the end goal. I cannot, because none of this makes any type of sense.
No.
Right? But like the thing for me that I was having this conversation with my spouse is like, all of these numbers, unintended pregnancy, STIs, all of these different diseases, disabilities, all these numbers are going to continue to go up. But
Right.
because they've already dismantled the systems that track all of these numbers, we, the general people, won't see those. The general population doesn't see those. Like, well, we're not talking about STIs anymore, so they must not be a problem. What will happen is at some point we will get a Democrat back in office, things will start to get restored, and then it will look like numbers exploded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, Republicans and whatnot will say, well, look at
Under
what
us,
happened
it was,
under this
yeah.
Democratic, right? Under this Democrat, STIs went through the roof. It's like, no, we have to look at data beyond just numbers. And that's hard for people who don't do that for a living. And it's something that, like, I work really hard when we talk about numbers. We have to talk about the why. And there's so many like great accounts on social media that I've been following since even before the pandemic, but like definitely when COVID like first like busted out here, like there's so many amazing scientists and doctors and other like healthcare professionals and things like that that they're so good at putting this information into layman's terms that like I'm like, I'm so glad you all are doing this and I can just share.
Yes.
Share all the good stuff.
Yes, I share
Yeah.
a lot of that, even though like I understand it on the scientific side, but being able to put it into just the general layman's terms is huge, because then you get the people who don't like science or don't care about that or can't understand what you're trying to say when you say, glucose or, phosphate, all of those types of words. And when you say, well, sugar kind of thing, and they're like, oh, okay. And then it makes more people realize, well, this is stupid.
Like, oh, yeah, they use big fancy words to try and confuse you and to overwhelm you because they understand that the like on average in the United States, the reading level on average is about an 8th grade reading level. So anytime information is being put out, it should be tested to be at or below an 8th grade reading level so that the majority of Americans can understand it. But then, you talk about like health literacy stuff with people and they're like, wait, what? It's like, if you want people to understand what you're saying, you have to put it in a way they understand it. And that's hard. That's really hard to do. I mess up on that all the time.
Me
I've been
too.
doing this for a long time. I mess up on it. I work with literacy experts in my life. Like, they're some of my best friends. And sometimes I'm like, oh, that wasn't really helpful. I understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
Nobody else did? Okay.
Yeah, and it brings us back to that keep it simple, stupid type
Yeah.
of thing. But at the same time, it's really hard to keep it that simple.
Yes.
It's you don't want to just say, okay, well, Dick meets Jane. Dick inserts Dick into Jane. There you go.
What does it mean, girl? Yes.
It just, but it kind of like, the fact that it has to be that simple for some people, it just kind of blows my mind, because it's like, you don't understand penis, vagina, but then I realize so many people call them PPs or wee-wees, and we gotta stop doing that, because it's a huge disservice, not only to yourself, because you sound like a moron.
Drives me insane.
It drives me insane too.
Okay.
But it's a huge disservice to your children, because when they go out into the real world and they're talking to their partner or something, God forbid, happens to them and they have to go to the doctor's going to look at them like they're a complete and utter idiot if they say my wee-wee hurts.
My cookie, right? Like,
yes.
my pocketbook and stuff. And a doctor may not understand a lot of these slang terms that folks use. But
Right.
plus we're further stigmatizing, right? We're
Yes.
furthering that social stigma and taboo when we say things like, in my house, so I have a 4-year-old, and we have always used proper terms, but that's, given the nature of the work that I do, it doesn't surprise anyone. But we do sex education in my house with my 4-year-old. And I think people are like, wait, what? Sex education is more than just talking about like penis and vagina, or vaginas rubbing against vagina, penis in the anus, right? It's like, we're talking about consent. we're talking about body parts. So when my 4-year-old is taking a bath and she's washing, I'm like, all right, we wash this body part, we wash this body part. Okay, what comes next? My vulva and my butt. And it's like, we say vulva and butt in our house, like they're elbows and feet, right?
They are.
And so, yeah, exactly.
I
They're
mean,
body
not literally,
parts, right?
but
No, yeah. But they're body parts. Like we have a body book and it goes through the body from your head to your toe. Like you're amazing and your body's so cool and what the different parts do. It's amazing. And it includes reproductive organs, right? And so, funny story, I was taking my 4-year-old to her dance class with other like toddlers. We're driving, we're about 7 minutes out. And she likes to be a little troll. And she knows that she is. She is hilarious. But she's sitting in the car out of nowhere is like, I have a penis. And I'm like, no, sweetie, you don't have a penis. You have a vulva. Some people have a penis, but you have a vulva. And then she's like, no, I have a penis. Tee. Now I'm recognizing we are about to go to dance class. And we think I have a penis is hilarious. Now, I am a cool mom, but not all moms are cool moms. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not trying to get my kid kicked out of dance class. And so I was like, and I'm like, all right, I was not prepared to have this conversation. I was like, no, baby, you have a vulva. And then I'm like, so speaking of talking about body parts, we should not maybe talk about this when we go to dance because some people's parents, like, they don't have conversations like this with their kids and stuff. So we want to keep our private parts private. Although there's nothing wrong with your private parts. Like, I don't want you to feel ashamed about your body. Your body is amazing and it does cool stuff. And I'm like, I sound like an idiot. I sound so silly. And this is what I love to tell like parents is that I have been doing this work for 17 years. I have 2 master's degrees. I have talked to thousands and thousands of young people about sex. But when it comes to talking to my own kid, like,
Yep.
And so everybody's going to be like that. And that's totally normal. And that's just the way it's going to be. And the sooner you accept that you're not going to be perfect at this, the easier it's going to be for you. Because I'm like, well, that was only like the first time we've had a conversation in that way, but it's not the last. It's only the first time. It's not like I'm never going to talk to her about her body again. Thankfully, she did not tell anybody in her dance class about her penis that she doesn't have. The one mom that I'm really good friends with there, and I was like telling her the story. She goes, it's so good that you're teaching her about her body parts. And I was like, thank you. And I'm so sorry if something is being said in dance class. And I'm sorry.
I was that type of kid too. I would go around and, oh, my mom says that you have a penis, so I can't do this or something like that. I was that type of kid. And I could tell you like so many stories of my family wishing that like something would strike me so that I would shut up. But I humiliated my family left and right, and not on purpose, but little kids say things.
Little kids, they don't know.
No. And like, I'm of the thought process of you don't walk around your house naked, but if they happen to see your body parts, that's I think is a good thing, because if you're like, oh my God, you can't see anything, it teaches them to be ashamed. And I don't want my kids ashamed of their bodies, because it's a body. It just is a body. And anybody who makes you ashamed of it is hiding something, in my opinion.
Did you experience a lot of issues in the schools that you would visit with immature kids and stupid jokes and stuff?
Did I not tell you I taught middle school?
Yeah, I can only imagine that was bad.
Oh, yeah, middle schoolers, I don't want to say they're a contributing factor to why I left teaching. And I will say they are absolutely a contributing. I don't have the patience for middle schoolers. They're a whole breed of human that are not for me. High schoolers, heck yeah, because you can like, I'm very sarcastic. I'm very like jokey and punchy. It's how my family is. It's how I grew up. But you can do that back and forth with high schoolers and they're not going to cry. Middle schoolers sometimes get very in their feels because their brains and their hormones are all over the place. So I get it. And sometimes I would forget middle school. But yeah, the wildest questions. I think they became more wild when I went in as like the guest speaker,
Right.
because when I was their teacher, it was like I had access to their parents and grandparents' phone numbers and addresses and things like that, where I could make a phone call if they were acting, and they had to see me all the time, right? Like I
Hmm.
was always the adult. But when I would just come in and do, a half hour presentation, the most out of pocket things. And a lot of it's just trying to shock me. It's trying to see like
Yeah.
how far they can go. But I talk about sex for a living, my friends. Like there's nothing you can say that is going to shock me at all. Uh Even when you talk about my own body and physique, like there would be high schoolers that are like, "Miss, you have like a fat ass." And I was like, "You also know I have mirrors." So I know. I have
Yeah.
a big butt. I know. Anyways, let's talk about IUDs. Let's get back on the track of that. It was like things like that. And their teachers would be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, I have a big ass. Like, that's not, first of all, it's something I'm personally very proud of about myself. Second of all, it's not offensive.
Hmm.
I'm not taking it that way as a kid is trying to offend me. I'm taking it as a kid is trying to say something to like see if they can have that gotcha moment.
Yep.
And you're not going to get me. I talk about sex. I talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. That kind of comes around sexual health. So it's not anything that is going to shock me, no matter how hard they try. But
And I
I'll,
think a
yeah,
lot of times they do that because they want to know if you're a safe person.
yeah, they're testing.
And I think that's what sometimes we forget is
Mhm.
that a lot of those tests that they do isn't necessarily be an ass.
Yeah,
It's to make sure, okay, this is a person that I can talk to if something happens, or whether it's good or bad. These are my people. Because we all want, to be able to belong to somebody and be able to comfortably talk in those situations and not have our heads blown off, type of thing. Not literally, but like
yeah.
get yelled at by a parent or something.
Mhm.
And
And
go ahead, I'm
I would
sorry.
just find it really important to be that person. And we would tell youth when I worked for a birth control clinic, myself and the other educators I worked with, we ran our social media. So if like you message us on Facebook, you're talking to one of us who's coming to your classroom, right? And we would have kids. I had a young person reach out once, and they reached out because a close friend of theirs had just been sexually assaulted, and they didn't know what to do, and they didn't know where else to go, but they remembered that we came to their classroom to talk to them. And here I am. I had just gotten home, as one does when you sit in your car right when you get home and you check your social media.
Hmm.
And I had just happened to check it and see, and I'm sitting in my driveway in my car calling every resource I know and trying to get them connected to the services and trying to help them. And I was able to get them connected to somebody so that they could talk this through and so that they could be connected, because I wasn't the expert who could work through that, but I know the experts, right? And so that's something that I think is so important in building those relationships. And a lot of young kids do have that mistrust. They have adults in the schools in and out all the time. So it takes forever to build that trust
Hmm.
for a lot of young people, especially young people who have experienced so much trauma, which
Yeah.
is unfortunately so many young people,
Yeah.
too many
Yeah,
young people.
way too many. And I hate the fact that they have to go through that trauma because
Awful.
it's awful. Um, Having gone through, some of those traumas myself, I don't wish that on anybody. And I don't understand as a society why we want to thrust them into that. They're so worried about protecting them from drag queens that read to them
Yeah.
than protecting them from the actual predators that are out there. And it doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, it's angering. It
Yeah.
all comes like something I used to always teach my kids is like when you're looking for an answer and the things are not just adding up and they're not making sense to you, follow the money.
Hmm.
Follow the money always. Like we would watch that movie Super Size Me when we would talk about nutrition. Love that movie. It was a great movie. I mean, it had its flaws obviously and lots of different things around it, but we would talk about it, like, well, if the government and the powers that be know this stuff is bad, know that cigarettes are not good for our health, know that this and this, how come they keep doing that? Follow the money. The sooner you all realize that the powers that be, the people who have a lot of decision making powers and the money in this country, the sooner you realize they don't care about us, the average person, the unfortunately, the easier your life is going to be. And that is a really horrible, shitty thing to accept as a human being and to have to tell other human beings,
Yeah.
right? Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I would rather you hear it from me, a safe adult who is telling you this out of love, because I respect you too much to send you out into